us, you're still on to Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our main conversation for this morning. Economic experts warn that former U.S. President Donald Trump's new 14% tariff on Nigerian exports could severely impact the $10 billion annual trade between both nations. The policy is expected to weaken demand for Nigerian oil, raise production costs, and disrupt trade, particularly in the oil and agricultural sector. Trump justified the tariff as a move to correct trade imbalances, citing Nigeria's 27% tariff on U.S. exports. However, experts argue it could worsen Nigeria's economic challenges, including inflation and currency depreciation. They also cautioned that reciprocal tariffs on essential imports like wheat and vehicles could further strain businesses and consumers, with oil making up most of Nigeria's export to the United States. Analysts suggest the country may need to seek alternative trade agreement to mitigate the impact of the tariff. I still have with me Barrister Evans Ofeli. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for being here. Truly do appreciate you once more. But let's take a look at this particular matter in depth. Nigeria accounts for about $62 billion worth of trade with the United States of America. Yeah. Just like we stated in our reportage there, oil makes a very great number there. LPG is equally one of them. So how do you think this would work out, knowing that the United States of America already have fracking, they have alternative like Donald Trump had always said, they are self-sustaining. How much of this would be damaging to the Nigerian economy?
Well, it's going to take a toll on the Nigerian economy, very much, so that it may even impact on the oil PMS price in the long run,
which we're already having. It's about 950 naira now from 820.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. It may, because now the 14% increase, that inflation will have to it will be passed down. It will be passed down on because we're talking about our export to the United States, what we are taking in there. So if we have to now pay more to bring in these goods, then we'll pass that cost inflation on the citizens or on the back end. So at the end of the day, what you have is we're going to be dealing with more problems. Okay, it's already a secured $10 billion relationship, which we've had before now. And if you look at the reason given by Trump, he said it is out of reciprocity that he did that. That Nigeria had increased export from the U.S. Sorry, that Nigeria had increased export from the U.S.
to Nigeria
by 27%.
Yes.
So that if we have done by 27%, he's doing 14% against that backdrop, because he's a very retaliatory person. I mean, eye for an eye, that is what he believes in. The reasons given also, the larger reasons, that they want to make America wealthier. Okay, and in his broadcast, the one that happened, I think about 3 days ago, he was talking about how what has happened to America now has never happened to America before, because now America is able to restrict the economy, manage its resources, and is gaining more, wider concept to ensure that America alone, because he keeps talking about America alone. He even told the Canadians that Americans don't need anything from Canada until they shook the power before he reduced his voice, Even the Mexicans, there was a time he talked about the Mexicans the Americans not needing anything from them before they made certain, because all the fruit juice and all
and the
egg plants,
inflation.
Yes, all those things come from. And in the US, the prices of goods can be same price for decades because of the constant supply and because of the fact that you cannot just, those countries cannot just increase tariff. But with what he's doing, there's going to be some level of reciprocity. You understand? And when those reciprocity fully comes to bear, the American economy will also shake, because they will have no choice than to increase goods and services overnight like you have in most countries, where costs and price instability is what the African economy is geared towards that. Price and cost is usually very unstable, unlike in fully developed country where cost price is stable, and when it's going to be increased, it takes time for you to have that done. So I don't think it's not a good one for us, but I mean it's the policy of the country. We do a lot of exports into that country, and we do a lot of imports too from the United States. So Nigeria is a big player in that angle. For the exporters, they have to buckle up. When they are passing the inflation costs, they should also not take it above board because some of these business people, all they need is just this kind of story to tell you why the price of export would skyrocket.
Yeah, because if we take a look at the exporters, like you have rightly said, the volume of export of Nigerian food from here to the United States in 1 year is about $62 million worth of food that we send in. All manners of food that Nigerians and Africans alike consume and they take care of themselves with. But of course, with this 14% tariff on exported food, of course, which includes the food themselves.
Yes.
How do you think this would affect Nigerians in the diaspora?
It will affect Nigerians seriously, because I know you see this. Let me use the basics. You see this afang soup.
Yes.
This afang soup. You see this plastic. This plastic we normally use to buy food in Nigeria here. That is what they used to sell it in the US, and they don't full it. You just have a size with 3 pieces of meat if you are buying assorted, and not full, just a level. It's $32.
Whoa.
It's $32. Then so 26, between 26 to 32. Now, $26 you pay tax, because America operates with expensive tax. Anything you buy, there's tax on it. Everything. Not like here where VAT is in some goods and some goods are free for VAT. There's not even VAT. They are just outright tax, on every good. So by the time you finish paying tax on $26, you are now arriving at 32 on each plate. That $32 in the Nigerian, this is about over 40,000.
For something thousand.
So that's what we use to
for
eat.
one
Yes,
soup.
yeah, that's what we do.
Whoa.
You understand? So there are other food too, yams and all other. So this cost is really not. This cost may also affect diaspora remittance, because now our people, they are going to pay more to eat, pay more to feed, pay more to do. So they will have perhaps a reduction in.
They will have more than enough disposable income. To send home and all.
Disburse. So it's going to touch on it too, because these policies have effects. This is a chain reaction. So the value chain will touch a lot of things, and maybe because of the cost, more people may resort to junk food, the ones that are produced there, okay, which is not very healthy for for people who are, from this other end of the world. It's going to make people to take different kind of choices. People have to make different kind of choices. Maybe those who are there may have to seek for food from here. But if you seek for food it's still the same export, which will be charged.
Very true.
Okay.
Yes, but let's take a look at leadership, which of course is the bane of some of these things. Nigeria is not the only country that has been, levied with such tariff by Donald Trump. South Africa had equally had its own fair share. Russia is a customer. It's having it like every other week, from different countries apart from the United States. But let's take a look at the capacity of the leadership we have in Nigeria to handle some of this shock that is coming to us. Do you think the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is good enough to take in this shock and maybe turn it around for the good of Nigeria?
What they should do is to go and take down the exercise duties.
Who should do?
This government.
Okay.
Because apart from what you are spending in terms of the export, which you now have 14% addition, there are excise duties to pay. The one you are paying to the government
Okay,
here.
yes, yes.
That's the one we have control over.
Oh, okay.
And we can go to America and say we reduce it from 14% to when is their policy. But we can ease the burden
For our
internally.
exporters.
Yes, internally. And that is to work on, because the Tinubu regime increased it. The Buhari regime gave some waivers on certain goods. It gave by the Finance Act, the Finance Act of 2021, okay,
Yeah.
gave waivers. Now, this government came, increased excise duties on those issues that waivers were placed on before now. So, it's our internal operation we should work on, because what I'm seeing happening in America is when you go to America, you see yams, Nigerian yams, but they are called Ghana yam.
Oh.
Yeah, because they package it in what do you call it? Cartons, and it's written there it's Ghana yam.
Wow.
But when I looked at it, I know it's from here. They take it to Ghana because the port is friendly to the exporters. You understand? They are paying virtually little or nothing to take it off. But here, we have problems. So this is the time now to make it easy for those who are in those export businesses to ensure that they get there, because what they are going to pay there is really heavy. And most of those goods we are sending there is largely consumed by still black Nigerians and Africans. Though the white people too eat our food, especially the Nigerian food. Then the black Americans also, because of the love for our music, our lifestyle and all that, they are gravitating towards that. Many of them I know say they are Nigerians. They argue that they are Nigerians. Even some of them have very pointed nose that you could say they are from Niger or someone that Rwanda and all that. They refuse. That no, that they are Nigerians. So that's supposed to be credit to us. People want to identify with Nigeria. So it's for the government to have this foresight, to look at it and whatever it is that is coming out from Nigeria is influencing the world. So government must make policies that will keep that going. And that is to ensure that they look at the export, excise duties and the rest of that.
Yeah, very true. But let's take a look at other issues here. Of course, with what Donald Trump has meted out on Nigeria, if it were other countries, the president of such countries would have been, up in arms now, equally speaking back. Of course, not really challenging, but at least, bring out something to say, okay, create a conversation that would continue. But right here, we're all...
Some will even go schedule a visit to have a one-on-one with the president. Some will schedule a visit. Do you know through negotiation, this thing can come down? Yes, it can. For those countries like Mexico, Dominican Republic, those ones that border America, that supply America major facilities, those ones that when he's talking, they talk back at him, they threaten him to. Because they share border and there are some inevitables that they have, like the Mexicans, for example, the fruit into America, the Dominican, the fruit in America, the fruit juice and all those things. Agricultural produce is basically Mexicans that provide into the US. You understand? Then the Canadians, they have power, electricity, for that they transmit to the US. So the Mexicans also, you see that when he was talking about making Mexican and other states, you heard what their own response was and all that they will cut off supply and they will make life miserable. And Americans know that they will be affected because they get a lot from Mexico. They get a lot from Canada. But for Nigeria, we're not even sharing border with them. We're far away across their coast. What exactly can we use to threaten the Americans or to say, by this decision, we're also putting this? And the fact that it's going to affect our major exports, which is crude.
Crude.
It's also going to take a toll. It's going to take a toll on. That is why, well, it will not be as it should have been if we didn't have Dangote on ground. Just imagine when we're doing 100% importation of PMS, 100%. We're doing 100% for so many years. Just imagine if we're still doing that and you have a 14% on the crude. That inflation cost, they will have to run it on the import of the already made product and all that. So that is why it's good for you to have indigenous, your own, indigenous production, capacity to produce indigenously. So that it will be that whoever is importing by choice. Or whichever company that is or marketer that is threatening Dangote that they will go and import, they can as well go ahead now. But they should know that the inflation cost will run on it.
And the truth of the matter is, we have a squalor-like sort of situation in Nigeria. 20 plus months down the line, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has refused to still appoint ambassadors to different countries of the world, including America itself, should be, taking care of some of these things.
You can imagine when the world has become a global village, where you should have, in fact, ambassadorial position has become more and more sensitive today than it were 20 years ago. Because now, one global policy can change the direction of income, national income and everything. You understand? One policy, okay? And Nigeria have been a friend of the US for too long. We have been a friend of the US for so long, to the point where their laws, influence our laws, okay? So when we talk about executive order today, it's from America. We didn't have that in our, so from America. And this policy that is going up to, it's about just the economy, making America greater and greater and greater. What is it that we have put together that we can say we'll put tariff on to shake the world, to make Nigeria great and great and great? We don't have that brand. We've not gotten there. So, unfortunately, the president is going to France. When you should go to where you're having a major economic policy against your country, he's heading to France because he just borrowed money.
It's actually a very sad situation.
Very sad.
The WTO, chairperson Okonjo Iweala had equally stated on this particular matter. She's neither here nor there. Remember, before she got into that office, made possible by Joe Biden, and Donald Trump actually refused, if you would remember, that she wouldn't step into that position until he left, and Joe Biden came in, and that was how it was possible for her to have, taken care of that. But how do you think the WTO would handle the situation? It is supposed to be a circumstance where the WTO should be making some of these deliberations. They should be in the room where this is talked.
Who is the WTO? This international organization don't have enforcement arm. The only thing they can do is to sanction. Who's going to? Can WTO sanction America? Is America not WTO? And that is now, just like the way United Nations will say on terrorism or on international laws, you are supposed to follow protocol, due process, okay? When you get prisoners of war, this is what you do. During times of international humanitarian conflict, these are the things you do. There should be precision. Civilians must not be affected and all that. All those things are policies and laws of the United Nations, international law. But America violated all those laws. The moment they caught Bin Laden, they killed him at the spot. They caught the other one, the leader of the other terrorist organization, who was killed on the spot. You understand? So they use extrajudicial means, whereas the United Nations policies and laws are against extrajudicial means, because you want you to prosecute through the right system. And can the UN sanction America? Who is the UN in the first place? Not America. The headquarters is there in New York.
Is in New York.
WTO, where's the headquarters? So we are just talking about WTO. WTO will only look at the policy, okay, and make recommendations. They will make just like we do our MBA conference every year, and we make recommendations for government, and we hand it over. The report, we hand it over to federal government. We cannot go and constitute ourselves somewhere that report must be implemented, because the MBA is an association, just like any other NGO. It's just prominent.
So even if a particular subset is affected gruesomely.
Yeah. I mean, talking about WTO.
Yes, WTO. You know, knowing that the impact on malnutrition, on starvation, countries that do not have food.
Yes, especially at a time when the US AID has been stopped. Okay, and now this is going to affect. It's going to be far-reaching. It's going to be far-reaching. It's going to affect a lot, and then WTO cannot compel the US on economic issues, compel them that they must go this direction. All they do is to put their report together and advise, and give, because of the following, this, and that, they will put up their decision and submit to the government. The government also have correspondents there. So the government will look at the policy. The government will decide whether they want to follow their advice or not, because all international organizations submit to sovereignty. When the international organizations say a country should not do a thing and it does it, they told the Abacha not to kick Sariwa. He did it. And we were sacked from the Commonwealth. It took us so long. So those are the sanctions they cannot come and take over the country, but they will sanction you, because there's no enforcement really in the long run. So it's just that it is necessary, because they fall within the purview of the WTO, trade and commerce, fall their purview. So their input will always be there. They will make their input, but it is for the government to take it or leave it.
Very, very true. It's for the government to take that or leave it. It's actually very so sad that a country in Nigeria, strategically situated at a place in the global economy where we should be seated right there at the table and making informed decision, calling the cards, and desiring that what comes to us get to us. We do not have the leaders who are supposed to do that. Paul Kagame retaliated on Donald Trump when, of course, the same thing happened to Rwanda, and he asked every United States a big wig serving in the country to leave, and that really sent a shock wave. And the United States is still trying to see how they can manage such a situation. But here we have a country of over 200 million people, and still we do not have that sort kind of leaders that could actually, have a change in the global narrative. Well, let's just see how that goes. 14% is here before us. We truly do hope that those within the presidency and the government would do the needful to ensure that Nigerians do not suffer from that. Thank you so very much, Barrister Sufedi.
My pleasure.
For being here. All right, people, that's just about the time we have for today. We will indulge you to please visit us to read more on what we have discussed today. When you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com, you may equally rewatch this if you may when you visit us at Enterprise TV. TV7. My name is Henry Igwibike. I'll see you tomorrow for yet another awesome time. Thank you for watching, and have yourself a wonderful day. Bye-bye.